listening to the Bloomberg Advantage with Kathleen Hays and Bonnie Quinn on Bloomberg Radio.
We turn now to a subject that has a lot to do with money, but not in the way we like to think of money. Human trafficking. Currently, there's a political angle on this. There is a bill to fight human trafficking that has been hung up on a part of the bill that would allow abortions to take place for some of the victims of these crimes. But that's not the side of the story we're going to look at today. We want to look at human trafficking, the human cost, the extent of this, why it exists, and what some people are doing to end it. Very happy to welcome now to the show Célhia de Lavarène. She is the head of an organization called Stop Trafficking of People. She's the author of a book, currently only in French, but soon to be in English, about human trafficking. She's been a journalist. She's worked for the UN for many years, and she's here to tell us more about this very important story. Célhia, welcome.
Thank you.
So first of all, the numbers that we see on human trafficking, officially we say, well, there's 27 people who are in slavery in the world today. Million, yes. 80% for sexual exploitation. 4 million new victims of sex trafficking every year. 8 per minute. Yeah. Now, those may be understated, but they're still really big. Who is being most exploited, and who's doing the exploitation?
The most exploited are, of course, young girls, very young girls. Before, we used to think that only underdeveloped countries were, using the girls. But no, not anymore. I mean, every single country in the world is concerned about it. Because when you have a young girl that you can buy and sell, it means big, big, big money. And look at what happened with Boko Haram and Daesh and others. I mean, young girls have been targeted.
So is it mostly young girls who are immigrants to other countries? Is it mostly young girls who are poor? Who are the young girls who are most vulnerable?
You're right when you say they're poor. Mainly poor. They come from little villages. I mean, traffickers are very clever. They are not going, I'm not talking about the girls that are kidnapped in the street. You cannot do anything. But young girls who live in little villages, either here, or little cities, or in Morocco, Paris, wherever. And, they go to their families, and they become friends with the family. They even marry the girls. I mean, I was told that in New York City, you have Russian men, young Russian men, good-looking. They have an American passport, so they go back to their country. They meet young girls, and they, tell them that they're in love, and they marry them, only to come back here and to put the girls in Queens, in a brothel.
Now, you worked as a journalist for many years. You've worked for the UN, and it was to a very large extent, as I understand it, your work in Bosnia with the UN that really got you more firmly in this path now of working to end human trafficking. Tell us more about that. I've been with the UN on and off for a long time. I've been to 7 missions. It's only during the 2 last missions that I've done that. It's not really the UN, and I have to be clear about that. The special representative of the Secretary General in charge of the mission, Jacques Klein, an American, did not want his peacekeepers to pay for the services of a young girl who has been, forced into prostitution. So he called me. We have been together, working together before. And he said, I need you to fight human trafficking. And I said to him, what is that? I'm a political journalist. I don't know what it is. So he explained to me that in the Balkans, it was really a big problem. So I went there, and I did my evaluation of the situation, and I realized that 300 brothels in the middle of nowhere, were, in Bosnia. And I was like, why? Nightclub, they called it nightclub. But why? Young kids could not pay. I mean, it was still a poor country.
And this was in the early 2000s in the Balkans?
In 2001. I composed teams of police officers, special forces, and we raided every single bar, nightclub, massage parlors, whatever. And we found 3,000 young girls from Moldova, Ukraine, Romania, sometimes Russia. All of them have been forced into prostitution.
And when you say young girls, what are they? What are basically the ages of these girls?
Let's say most of them, 80% were age 18 to 23.
Yes.
But 20% or a little less, I don't remember, were under 18.
So,
like 12, 13, 14.
Little girls, basically.
Yes.
So, but this seems to me like a very difficult problem because these girls are forced into it. You say yourself, sometimes it be the family. They're desperate. They're poor. They're in a war-torn area.
No. The family don't sell them. They're caught into, like, you have someone who offer like a contract, a work.
Oh, so they think they're going to do another kind of work. Like maybe I'm going to clean houses or work in a hotel, but then they get there and they're forced into basically slave prostitutes. Yes. So how do you fight it, though? What is being done? It seems like in a war-torn area, in poor areas, there's so much that governments are trying to do. What kind of priority is this given? How much do the authorities feel they can do or must do?
I'm going to disappoint you. I don't believe the government, whether it's your government, my government, or any government, is doing a lot of things fighting human trafficking. Why? Because it belongs to organized crime. You trade girls for weapons, drugs. They're commodities, and they represent a lot of money. I mean, it generates so much money. Like in Bosnia alone, when I was there, in 1 year, the traffic of young girls generated like $7 billion.
$7 billion?
I don't say million.
Million, but still.
Billion, yes.
In 1 year, in a very poor place.
And it's like a parallel
universe. Yeah, parallel economy.
And you have a lot of people involved, even at the level of the government.
Really? Well, in the sense that they get a kickback, maybe? You buy the girls, you set up your brothel, and we will...
Not only they get money, but they can have sex for free. I know it's disgusting, but it's the way it is.
So, boy, what about the long-term damage to the girls themselves?
That's terrible. I mean, in Bosnia and even in Liberia, we were working with psychologists. And I remember one in Bosnia who was working with the military. And he told me that the trauma those girls are enduring is the same that soldier going to Afghanistan or Iraq. So imagine those girls. How could you be if you have been raped, drugged, tortured? It's terrible.
More with Célhia de Lavarène. She is the founder of Stop Trafficking of People. More on what can be done to stop this next on Bloomberg Radio. 22.
You're listening to the Bloomberg Advantage with Kathleen Hays and Bonnie Quinn on Bloomberg Radio.
I'm Kathleen Hays, my co-host Bonnie Quinn. On assignment this afternoon, I continue my conversation now with someone who has started an organization called STOP. It's to stop the trafficking of human people, particularly young girls, often forced into sex slavery. Her name is Célhia de Lavarène. The organization Stop Trafficking of People. Much of her motivation, much of what got her to where she is today. She wants to set up actually a place in Haiti where children, young people who have been victims of human traffickers can recover from the trauma of what they've endured. A lot of her work, though, dates back to her days in Bosnia, Liberia, when she was working on UN missions. So something quite shocking, I think, for our listeners is that when you were in Bosnia, for example, and what a war-torn place, peacekeepers, we call them peacekeepers for the UN, but they were some of the worst exploiters. They were some of the ones who were some of the worst exploiters of these young girls and making the problem of human trafficking worse. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I mean, now I'm not shocked anymore the way I was at the time because I had that image of peacekeepers. But actually, when they come to any country, they abuse girls. They rape girls. They buy girls for the week. They're the one doing that. There would not be such amount of young girls being trafficked if it was not for not only the UN, but international organizations.
Really?
Even those, I mean, in Liberia, the head of Save the Children UK was involved. I mean, I found in Liberia a young girl, she was from Morocco. Her first customer, she was 15. Her first customer was a civilian from the UN, and she begged him not to have sex with her because, in our country you have to be a virgin when you want to get married. He raped her, and he beat her. And she was only 15.
Now, so you're making some pretty serious charges against specific people. Have
But
these ever been, your proof is in your book? Is your proof, have they ever been charged or convicted by the police?
No. When I wrote my book, is in my book, I would have loved for the UN to take me to court. To say what she says is wrong. No, not at all. I was ready to fight. The guy has been transferred to Lebanon, to another mission. Do Lebanon people deserve to have someone like that?
So you're saying then that basically the UN is not taking steps to end human trafficking, to stop their peacekeepers from raping girls and using underage girls as prostitutes?
Let me tell you, the UN has a so-called policy called no tolerance, zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance.
No, it's not true at all. In Democratic Republic of Congo, right now, young girls have been raped. I went to Haiti 6 times when I started to, wanted to open my rescue center for kids. And like 2 girls are raped every week. Come on. No, the UN doesn't do anything because they said we cannot do anything. They have diplomatic immunity, and it's up to each country to punish the...
But isn't that true? Don't they have diplomatic immunity?
Yes, they do, but it's easy to lift it. Come on.
Well, but can you enforce the lifting of diplomatic immunity? Maybe they could. I don't know.
Yes, they could. There is always ways to punish those people. Like in Bosnia, we found 2 young girls, 12 and 13 years old. They have been raped all night and tortured by 2 Pakistanis, peacekeepers. Were they punished? Never, ever. But I was, because when I came back, I went to see the head of peacekeeping operation. It was a Frenchman at the time. Well, they're all French anyway. And he said to me that I was the shame of my country because, after all, boys will be boys. And you cannot stop the peacekeeper from exerting the right of man. And he asked me to leave. Now my name is on a blacklist. Come on. But I'm telling you the name of those 2 Pakistanis who raped and tortured those 2 girls. Are not.
Yeah. Well, see it quickly because this is a fascinating story. I look forward to your book being published in English, so those of us who don't read French can read it. Stop Trafficking of People. If people want to get involved and help, what should they do?
Well, they could send us money because I wish I could open that rescue center for little kids because they're in Haiti. They're used as sex slaves. But I don't have enough money, and I need someone who could help me with fundraising because I can,
All right. It's very simple, everybody. StopTraffingOfPeople.org. Célhia de Lavarène. S.T.O.P. Stop Trafficking of People Now. I'll tweet out that website shortly. Thank you so much for joining me, Célhia.